This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It was Veterans Day yesterday, so politicians were out in force, like Bill de Blasio in New York City being welcomed by Big Apple's faithful.
You, de Blasio!
No,
Bring out their motherfucking scumbags!
Yeah.
So New York.
All right, happy Veterans Day. Boo birds are out in force. Yeah.
Wow. And he thought he could be president.
That is a customary New York greeting, particularly for a Sandinista like de Blasio. So there's no issue with that. I thought that was nicely done by those New York City residents welcoming their mayor. In Canada,
They have Remembrance Day.
yeah, they have Remembrance Day, exactly. And Don Cherry, he's like a celebrated hockey announcer up there. And I don't know if you've heard, hockey's a big sport in
Yeah, it's
Canada.
kind of a big deal. But he's really flamboyant. He wears these, really outrageous sports coats, and
So does Barry Melrose.
yeah, I know. But it's his thing. It's great.
Right, and so he's a popular figure. 85 years old, been around a long time. He hosts Hockey Night in Canada. And on the occasion of Remembrance Day, you went off on a bit of a discussion point, saying, you people, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey. At least you can pay a couple of bucks for a poppy or something like that. This is during his Coach's Corner segment. These guys pay for your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys pay the biggest price.
And wearing of poppies in Canada honors the country's war dead on Remembrance Day. This
So
little red flower.
This was taken as singling out new immigrants in Toronto and Ontario, where he lives, for not honoring Canada's veterans, and both living and dead. And he was fired. Fired for saying, you love our way of life, you love the milk and honey, at least you can pay a couple of bucks for a poppy or something like that. These guys paid your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price. Fired for that.
Yeah, for the you people. You people.
And
I'm never going to say you people again.
And yet Justin Trudeau can get reelected prime minister in blackface. I'm confused about Canada's cancel culture. For some help with that, we're pleased to be joined by Jerry Agar, who is the 9 to noon host on News Talk 1010 in Toronto. He's also a columnist for the Toronto Sun and a longtime friend of the show. We worked together when he was in Chicago. We all did.
Remember that? Remember that one night while the three of us were together? Working.
Okay,
Working,
Katie Hill,
okay?
take it easy. Reunited, and it feels so good. Jerry Agar, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
As soon as you threw in working, you destroyed the whole image.
Yeah, exactly.
How
yeah.
could I?
Well, the story,
Darn it.
the
Come
story
on,
you
Jacobson.
the story you could tell, Jerry. We did probably an imperfect job in describing how big Don Cherry is in Canada and how big this event is. But why don't you give us some color on Don Cherry and this flap that led to his firing?
Well, yes, 38 years actually doing that show called Coach's Corner between the first and second periods of Hockey Night in Canada, which is a big deal on Saturday nights, whoever happens to be playing, and he's there talking about hockey in general, but he tends to go in other directions as well, and supporting the troops is a real main theme of his. So that was really no surprise on the 11th of, coming up on, as Amy points out, we call Remembrance Day in Canada, Veterans Day, and admonishing people for not wearing a poppy would also not be surprising from him. I think he is the most watched person on television, or was up to last Saturday. But then he threw in this thing about new immigrants and you people. He actually uses the phrase you people all the time, no matter who he's talking to. But of course, that isn't going to matter to the cancel culture, which is exactly, I heard you say that, and Dan, and that's also the term that I'm using. It's not enough to criticize them and use your own speech. We're in a culture now where, especially if you're on the right and say something people don't like, then you must be obliterated from society.
Well, do you think there's going to be any pushback from fans? I mean, will they protest? Will they, try to get him back on the air?
Well, I think that fans may do that, but the thing is, 38 years on television, and he's got, I don't know, a controversy a month. It seems like he's constantly saying something that angers people, and there probably are executives. I know that executives at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the CBC, for many years would try to get rid of him, and he used to brag that he just outlasted all the managers that came and went. And then finally they got this one, and I think they also decided it's been 38 years. He's 85 years old. We've got the opportunity here. I wouldn't discount that as being a part of it.
I think we're going to have to go back and force NBC to edit the Seinfeld Festivus episode when it's in rerun, because I got a lot of problems with you people. There's that phrase again. And context doesn't matter, just as it doesn't matter here to the totalitarians on the well, they're always on the left, but the totalitarians who want to silence people like Don Cherry. So maybe we're going to have to go through and scrub books and TV shows and movies for this phrase, "you people."
Well, certainly. I mean, you've got people going back now and saying, well, we didn't like something somebody did in 1812, so we're taking their statue down. Living by the shifting standard is going to be pretty difficult. And you pointed out at the top there, Dan, that here's a guy who got fired because of a phrase he said, and we reelected a prime minister who did blackface. And in fact, so many times that he won't actually cop to any number. He doesn't know how many times he did it.
Well, I mean, who can keep track of that, Jerry? I mean, it's so difficult to keep track of something like that.
I guess. The problem that Don?
Well, real quick
go ahead,
about Trudeau. I mean, what was people's reaction when those pictures were revealed? Because we don't live in Canada, so what was it like?
Well, it depended on who you were talking to. I mean, we recently had a politician who was running. She said, I was going door to door campaigning, and I'm campaigning in a district that has a lot of black residents, and they're telling me, oh no, that was an honor that Justin Trudeau showing that he loves us. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they never would have said that if I'd have done the blackface, or if the conservative candidate Andrew Scheer would have done blackface. It's what we're talking about in the cancel culture. Really is an enormous double standard.
Is Don Cherry known to be a conservative, or is he just known to be like sort of Andy Rooney-ish, sort of irascible and just and speaks plainly and in such a way that offends, that is traumatic to so many people these days?
I think it's both. People may remember our infamous late mayor, Rob Ford. When Rob Ford got elected and he was being installed in office, they had Don Cherry come and speak. And he actually said during his speech, well, this is going to anger all you pinkos out there. So that tells you where he comes from.
All right. Well, so I like him already. Maybe we can get him down here.
I mean, I like his outlandish suits.
Well, he's available.
Oh, hey. And Don Cherry, one thing he and I have in common, he mangles the names of foreign-born players.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. But that was part of his shtick, though, right? Wasn't it?
So did Harry Carey.
Oh, yeah.
And American-born players, too, for that matter.
Yeah, well, but that's part of his problem is that also he will start a sentence and halfway through it, he'll just decide to talk about something else. And so sometimes, because he claims, he was on last night with our evening announcer, Barb DiGiulio, and he said to her, I didn't really mean it as an attack on new immigrants, but because he sort of mangles his sentences, it just, the way it came out, that's how it sounds. And being Don Cherry, he says, I said it, and I'm not going to apologize.
I got an idea who could replace Don Cherry. I don't know if you're going to take calls on this or you've got some suggestions, but I got an idea. And I don't know, obviously, Canadian politics and culture the way you do, but a name comes to mind, an obvious name.
Who?
Okay.
Who?
Jessica Yaniv. The trans.
Oh, who wanted to get the naughty bits waxed?
Wanted a bikini wax on his nuts. Yeah, right.
That doesn't fit in a bikini, sir.
Isn't that like a great symbol of culture in the West these days? Don't you think?
Well, sure. We'll go from outrage on one side to outrage on the other side. That's hilarious. I'm going to quote you on my show.
All right. That's certainly going to help popularize me in Toronto. I know that.
Yeah.
Jerry Agar.
Well, your Q rating's not so big here, Dan.
Yeah, I know. I think the times I've come on your show to talk about Trump, I can only imagine the safe spaces that need to be created for some folks. Jerry Agar, he is the 9 to noon host on News Talk 1010 in Toronto. He's also Toronto Sun columnist. Jerry, great to speak with you as always. Thanks for joining us.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Bye, Jerry. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
I don't believe you people.
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?